Good evening. I'd like to welcome councillors, officers and members of the public to this meeting of the council. Can I remind you to switch your mobile phones to silent? There are members of the public and press attending this meeting virtually. Can I please ask those attending virtually to switch off your microphone to avoid any disruption during the meeting? The meeting is being recorded and will be available in due course on the council's YouTube channel. To ensure that those attending virtually can hear the proceedings and for the recordings to capture the entire meeting, please ensure that you wait for the microphone and speak clearly into the microphone. Please remember this is a formal meeting and do not refer to councillors by their first names. When addressing council, please stand if you are able to do so. There is no fire alarm planned, therefore, upon hearing a constant two-tone alarm, please leave the building by your nearest marked fire exit and make your way down the stairs to the nearest assembly point, which is a short stay car park. Lifts are not to be used. Please do not take time to pick up personal belongings and leave the building promptly. Please be aware that content displayed on your iPad or laptop may be seen by others or members of the public attending the meeting. Therefore, please close down screens which are displaying confidential information during the public part of meetings. Thank you. Apologies for absence, please.
Yes, Chair, received apologies from Councillors Bullard, Hunt and Lovering, Chair.
Okay, item 2, to approve as a correct record the minutes of the meetings held on the 19th of November 2025 and the 26th of November 2025, subject to minute 51B being amended as follows. Pages 9 to 30 of your reports. It shouldn't have the words licensing after community safety. Thank you. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Caroline Lever, seconder, Councillor Katrinos. All those in favour? Against? Any abstentions? Thank you. Item 3, Chair's announcements. It's really painful to have to do this, but we've lost one of our own. Councillor Neil Denton hadn't been a councillor at this authority for very long, but in the short time he's been here, he made an amazing difference to both our council and the community that he served. Neil always had a smile on his face. That's the first thing I can think about when I think about Neil, is his smile. He had a really good sense of humour and a great love both for his family, his friends and his community. He will be deeply missed. And I'd like to ask Councillor Biederman to say a few words.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. And yeah, I mean, I think not an awful lot you can add to that. Obviously, most of you have probably read my piece on my social media, and I know I've read Malcolm's and read so many comments by so many, and I think, you know, everybody has a special memory of Neil if they met him. Hopefully his family probably will watch back this recording, so I know it's giving the children and the family great comfort reading all the love and affection that people are showing towards him. But so I'll say a little more than that. I mean, the funeral is going to be on February the 5th at the North Devon Crematorium at 1:30, and yeah, we've lost a real good friend, and the council. I don't think, you know, I said this at Fremington on Monday. I think sadly, I think either council, whether this council or Fremington, have ever really seen the real Neil. You know, he got elected in 2023. You know, soon after election, he was complaining about headaches and kept going back and kept getting fobbed off. And then, you know, after a year of that, you know, we suddenly had that devastating news, and it's come to fruition. But, you know, he knew it was coming. It's still really hard. And as you say, Chair, he's left a huge gap in those that loved him. But most importantly, well, not they're the most important, but the community have lost a proper champion. Thank you.
Chair, I just wanted to add a couple of things that Frank said, and it's really about what Neil meant to people not in this council. And I think that's one of the great things about social media, is it allows people to actually put their thoughts into practice. And what I was amazed at is the number of young people that Neil had touched and helped and inspired through his work in sort of education and training. And they're from all over North Devon, from every walk of life. And I just wanted to put on record their thanks to Neil as well, so that their family know how much his work was cherished by them. We'll miss him, but you know, we hope that the family will have some comfort out of the great love that the whole of the community of North Devon has shown for him. Thank you, Chair.
Right, my second announcement is something which just goes to show that if you're patient, you get what you want. Some years ago, not long after I became a councillor, I put a motion regarding pavement parking. Last week, the government actually have changed the law, and it will become that pavements will have to be designated to be parked on rather than a free-for-all, which is fantastic news and goes to show that lobbying by whether it be by organisations such as ours or charities does work. So thank you very much for all the support back then, and we look forward to having some enforcement being able to be taking place on pavements. The third thing is, could I please remind councillors to do their boxfish training? This is part of our cyber security protocol. It's very, very important because it might seem a little, these little 5-minute quizzes might seem a little bit silly, but they do make you think, and they are going to stop people breaking into our computer systems, which are attacked all the time. So if I can just remind people to do their boxfish training, and if you have any issues with doing your boxfish training, please contact IT as soon as possible, and they will make sure that you can get onto it. Thank you. And the last item that I have, which I'm really, really thrilled to be sharing, is this is fantastic. It's that North Devon Council has won the Apprenticeship Employer of the Year Large Employer in this year's North Devon College Apprenticeship and Placement Awards. So it's fantastic. And just so I can really embarrass him, we have one highly commended employee as well, and that is Glyn, our very own member of services. Who has done an absolutely fantastic job with his college course, and well done, and really pleased to hear that. Thank you. Item 4, there is no business brought forward. Item 5, replies to any questions submitted by the public and or to receive petitions under Part 4 Council Procedures Rules, paragraphs 8 and 9 of the Constitution, none received. Item 6, to consider motions of which notice has been submitted by members in accordance with Part 4 of the Council Procedure Rules, paragraph 11 of the Constitution, none have been received. Item 7, declarations of interest.
I've received none, Chair.
Item 8, Chair's replies to any questions to council members submitted under Part 4 Council Procedure Rules, paragraph 10 of the Constitution. We have none. Item 9, to agree the agenda between Part A and Part B. We have no Part B. Item 10 is the report of the Leader of the Council. So, Councillor Clay.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. I'll take it as read, but I would just like to add one thing. And at the end of paragraph 2, I said that at the time of writing, we're due to meet after the SNR meeting on the 5th of January to give an update at full council. The only update I can give, really, I'm afraid, on that is this is the informal meetings of members with a senior management team. One of the things that was put forward in the peer review session that we had. And that went well, I thought. It was collaborative, and we got through quite a lot as far as the next steps are concerned for SNR. There were no minutes taken, unfortunately. I don't think it was being an informal meeting, but we will try and relay back as soon as we have
more substance. As far as the peer review is concerned, I've been asked by a couple of members what's going on with that. We got the initial report, as you know, from the peer review team. And Ken queried a couple of sentences, I think it was really, John, wasn't it? Not much more than that. And this was just before Christmas, and he sent it back, and they said, "Yeah, we'll get it sorted, and we'll have it back in the first week of January." I asked John this afternoon. I still don't think we've had anything back, but we're due to get something. So hopefully at the next meeting we will have that, and we can discuss it, because one of the things we do want to do from that is to look at the lead member roles. We've said this needs sorting. The lead member roles as far as the actual remit of each lead member, so that is clear to everybody, all members, and what we're doing as a council as well. So there is work to be done there, and the sooner we get that report, we can use that as a kind of springboard for further action. So I'll take the rest of the report as read. If you don't mind, I'm happy to answer any question at all. Thank you, Chair.
Do we have any questions? No. Okay. Item 11, questions by members. Questions to the leader or the chair of committee submitted under Part 4 Council Procedure Rules, paragraph 10(4) of the Constitution. This is to consider an urgent question received. Councillor Beedman, can I invite you to speak, please?
Can, Chair, but I think the Vice Chair was going to actually go first, but
Yeah.
I'll do it for you, Lynn, especially as your employee of the year.
Sorry, Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Councillor Beedman. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I have some questions to ask. It comes in relation to a letter from Policy Committee, which has gone to yourself, Chair, and to the leader of the council. It relates to the decision to cut the Tradeway service. I think we've all discussed it, looked at it in a lot of detail, and we understand why that decision has been made from a financial perspective. We understand the challenges that this council faces in terms of those financial challenges coming to all councils, but we are deeply concerned that particularly rural businesses are going to be impacted by that decision. I just also want to thank members of the public, small business owners that have come to support this discussion this evening, even though you can't talk. Hopefully we'll make the right decision. We won't let you down. So those questions, just pick up my tablet. Would the Chair of Strategy and Resource Committee please confirm that the recommendations of Scrutiny and Policy Committee were considered when taking this decision? Would the Chair of Strategy and Resource Committee please explain why the questions and recommendations raised by the Scrutiny and Policy Development Committee were not communicated back to members prior to taking that decision as requested? And would the Chair consider re-looking at the decision of the committee? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Jones, for notice of the questions, shall we say. Very clever. It gets a bit technical in places, this, so I apologise, and it's a little bit long-winded, but I wanted to give a full, comprehensive reply. The first question, would the Chair confirm the recommendations of the Scrutiny and Policy Committee were considered when taking the decision? The easy answer is yes, and it was yes. But the more fuller answer is that the recommendations from Scrutiny and Policy formed part of the report papers presented to SNR members at their meeting, as you know, on the 1st of December 2025. The December report was also referenced within the subsequent report to the meeting of SNR on the 5th of January 2026, because we had asked, along with yourselves, for more information. I'll run through each of the recommendations because some members might not be too clear on what those actually were. So the recommendations were as follows, and sorry, this is a bit technical for you. but it's worth looking at these in detail. The first one that your committee came up with was we would be requested to consult with existing customers with a view to extending the trade waste service for as long as was reasonably practical. And the answer really is that consultation did take place with a sample of customers. This was reported back verbally to members. It was discussed at the S&R committee on the 1st of December. Those members of the public, S&R I'm referring to as is the Strategy and Resources Committee. The sample was chosen from a wide range of customers, varying in size, varying in type of business, geographical location across our towns and rural areas. The results of the consultation were presented to the S&R committee on January the 5th, 2026, within Appendix 2 of the Trade Waste Report. Possibly the consultation could have been a bit bigger, but we were struggling for time as well, and it was a fair cross sample. So that was the first part. Second part that your committee asked us to look at was as follows. That as part of this consultation, the views of existing customers were sought to understand the impact of ending the service together with the financial impact upon customers should the council opt to increase its charges to facilitate the continuation of the service. And my answer is as follows. As part of the consultation questions, customers were asked if the council decided to cease providing the service, how would they manage? Could they find an alternative provider? And had they used or inquired with another supplier previously? Customers were also asked that in the event of the council requiring to increase its charges by at least 20%, would they be able to manage such an increase and would they seek an alternative provider? The third part of the questions and recommendations from your committee, Councillor Jones, was this, that the Scrutiny and Policy Development Committee be given additional time to look further into the detail and seek further information from private companies with regards to the costs of their trade waste service. And my answer is as follows. On the 1st of December, S&R Committee resolved to defer any decision until January the 5th, 2026. This was to allow time to consider the detail and to seek further information that I've already referred to. As a result of that, I asked that all councillors be written to, which they were. They were invited via email on the 4th of December to submit any further questions that you wanted to the Waste and Recycling Manager. Any issues you were still concerned about, submit those questions. The questions and answers were presented within the agenda pack of papers to S&R at the meeting on the 5th of January 2026. Those councillors who responded to this email and put forward a number of questions were Councillor Prue Maskell, Councillor Sarah Wilson, Councillor John Petrinos, and Councillor David Knight, who took up most of the questions. Thank you, Councillor Knight. The challenge in going back for a second time to Scrutiny and Policy Development Committee before returning to Strategy and Resources Committee for a decision is that it significantly impacts the timeline of any decision being communicated of contractual changes in service to our trade waste customers. We have already put off sending out the formal letter to inform trade waste customers because this has arisen tonight. The agreements in place require us to give at least 2 months notice. I was hoping we could give them at least 3 months notice, but unfortunately that is not the case anymore. And with a decision taken in early January 26 provides our customers more than 2 months minimum, just about period, to help them find an alternative provider of the service before the 31st of March 2026, because that is when most of the contracts actually expire. A further delay of 1 month to go back again to Scrutiny and Policy Committee when additional information and questions was already being sought from all councillors of the council, which includes these members, would have reduced the amount of time our customers had to react to such a change. The decision has been taken by S&R. it is important for all members to note that any further delay in implementing this decision by taking it back again to SNR will cause further delay to our customers being formally notified. That's just a fact. And if we're really looking after the interests of businesses, then we need to give them as much time, and we will support them. If they cannot find alternative providers in the short term, then they have a bit longer, and we will support them. The officers will be there to help them through this process. The fourth point that came from your committee, Councillor Jones, was that a report be brought back to a future meeting of the Scrutiny and Policy Development Committee prior to any final decisions being taken by the Strategy and Resources Committee. For the same reasons I've just outlined above, under the third recommendation, questions and views from all councillors were sought in advance of the January meeting of SNR. Any further delay in the decision being made to either continue, cease in part or cease in full would have resulted in less time in us being able to inform our customers of any change to their current provision. Our aim was to ensure they had sufficient notice of any such decision, and more than 2 months minimum notice we were required to provide them. That was the first question, Councillor Jones. Did you read out the second question? Yeah, well, your second question is, would the chair of the Strategy and Resources Committee please explain why the questions and recommendations raised by the Scrutiny and Policy Development Committee were not communicated back to the members prior to taking a decision as requested? Any further delay in taking a decision to either continue the service, cease the service in part, or cease the service in full would have resulted in less time in us being able to inform our customers of any decision made to change their current provision. SNR Committee had the questions and recommendations of Scrutiny and Policy Development Committee before them in making an informed decision, but the request that S&R Committee responses to those questions go back to Scrutiny and Policy Development before then returning to SNR for a decision at a later date is not actually strictly in line with the delegated powers that Scrutiny and Policy Development Committee has in our Constitution. It's worth referring back to the Scrutiny and Policy Development Committee's powers in the Constitution, which provides that its delegated function, amongst others, is to scrutinise council performance and service delivery with the aim of strengthening council policy, and to question members of the committees, the lead members, the chief officers from the council about issues and proposals affecting the area or the performance and service delivery of the council. The intention of this is not to restrict the ability of another committee to be able to take a decision when it considers that it has full information before it. All committees, including S&R Committee, must have complete discretion as to how to exercise their respective delegated functions. Ultimately, the delegated power to take that decision rests with the Strategy and Resources Committee that I chair. It was felt that the committee had sufficient information to take a decision, so it proceeded to do so on January the 5th. There isn't a great deal more. You'd be glad to know. As I already covered above, additionally, a further delay of 1 month to go back again to Scrutiny and Policy Development Committee when additional information and questions was already being sought from all councillors of the council, which includes these members, would have reduced the amount of time our customers had to react to such a change. The third question within your question, Councillor Jones, was would the chair consider re-looking at the decision of the committee? We took the decision. I'm comfortable with that decision made on the 5th of January 26, and as far as I'm concerned, the decision stands. And if we delay it by sending it back to S&R, then we're doing an injustice then to those people who need the extra time to go out and find alternative providers. And there are alternative providers there. On top of that, I've got today's edition of the Gazette, which has a big piece on what we've done is a very fair piece, actually, a very well balanced piece, but it's basically telling people who have not had the letter yet that this is a done deal. It's been done because the SNR have made that decision. So people are already phoning alternative providers. If we go back on that decision, it'll cost them even more, a more increase, because we've lost a lot of customers. We will have lost a lot of customers. I guess you're shaking your head, but it's true. There's already people who've committed elsewhere now and are looking elsewhere. So we do have that problem, and it's also all over social media, thanks to certain councillors. Thank you, Councillor Bell, that this decision has been taken. So we cannot leave these businesses in and up in the air, basically. We've got to make that decision. It's a very difficult decision to take. I admit that. It was difficult. Nobody likes to come into local government to make decisions to cut things all over the place, but this is not a statutory service. And we're going to see a lot more of this in future in local government. And I'm a great believer in making sure that what we have a statutory duty to provide for, we do that well. And I think in North Devon we do. But some of these non-statutory services that we have offered for so long, and we have been making a loss. We have been making a loss on this service, and we just have to, recognise that. And therefore, in answer to your question, then yes, I'm happy with the decision we took, and I hope we don't refer it back. Thank you for the notice of the questions anyway. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Jones, do you have a supplementary?
Thank you, Councillor Davis. Chair. I'm going to fight every bone in my body, which I think you'll all appreciate, not to argue most of those points, which I think we could. We're not in a position to debate this. I do have a supplementary, but I think it's important to just focus on one point, which is brilliant to hear. You don't want to leave customers up in the air. There are so many customers that will be left up in the air.
Sorry,
if we cut the curves
can you have a
quickly.
question, please?
I don't have a question, but I'd like to raise a motion. So I raise a motion to bring this matter back to your committee. So back to scrutiny and strategy and resources committee, for there to be a deeper review, a consultation of more than 20 people, because if you've been a maths teacher, that's not a statistical analysis to be able to make a decision on. So I raise that motion.
Do we have a second for that motion? Councillor Maddox. Right, go straight to the vote. All those in favour of taking the decision back to strategy and resources?
2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, Chair.
Thank you. All those against?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17,
And Councillor
18.
Thank you. So that motion has been defeated. Thank you. Any abstentions? Sorry. Councillor Rutty. Item 12, lead member's report, call on Councillor Nikki Wright. Nikki Knight, we'll get it right one of these days.
Thank you, Chair. Nikki Wright speaking. Yeah, I'd like to propose my statement. In fact, all lead members have an interview coming up very soon as to whether or not we're worth it. So read the bullet points and I will defend myself accordingly. Thank you. Take it as read. Any questions, but don't. Thank you.
Any questions, members? Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Clayton.
Not a question, it's just a thank you to Councillor Ricky Knight for everything he's done. He's committed to this cause, he's committed to the whole process of tackling climate change. And I want to thank him. He's obviously doing a lot here. He's got a full agenda in front of him, and he chairs our committee meeting. I think we've got one coming up pretty soon, haven't we? Next week, is it? Very pleased that he works well with us as the lead group. So thanks, Ricky, for everything you do.
Item 13 is the council tax base. If I could pass over to John Briggs.
Thank you, members. Item 13 is your council tax base. This isn't the formal setting of the council tax for next year. That will come as part of the budget setting report that comes to your council meeting next month. This is setting the number of average value properties that you will then formally set the council tax on. Relatively short report, as always. It's set out on pages 35 to 37, and the table in Appendix A just sets out how the council tax bandings and properties have been calculated. There is an increase in the council tax base. It's a lower increase than this time last year. You'll recall this time last year we had the additional second homes premium, which added around 2,000 properties that were affected by that premium. That's been adjusted down for 26-27. Main reason for that, there were a number of large properties when the council tax base was set this time last year that fell into the council tax base that were waiting to be removed. The valuation office were removing self-contained units from the rating list on business rates, but because of the delay in the valuation office removing them, those properties then increased the council tax base this time last year. So subsequently, they've been taken out of the council tax base for 26-27 calculation. When the valuation office do address those backlogs, they will go back into the business rates rating list. The other addition is in relation to exemption types, and that's seen a reduction due to an increase in the number of exemptions. So the number of exemptions to exempt dwellings has increased to 830. That's an increase from 760 this time last year. And the most significant rise is in Class F, which is around liable parties that have sadly deceased. That's increased by about 50 cases over the last year. And that's due to the increased time it's taking for the applications for probate to be processed, and also due to property sales and purchases slowing down in the markets. So that has had an impact on the council tax base for 26-27. The council tax base is growing. It is growing by 0.22% for 26-27. It's a lower growth than in previous years. This time last year it was 1.7%. It does add a net around 82 properties to the council tax base, which will see increased council tax coming in. But obviously this time last year, the council tax had grown by those additional properties due to the second homes premium. So members, that's the background in terms of the growth in the council tax base for 26-27. That's what we will look to set your budget and your council tax on this time next year. Happy to take any questions, Chair. We'll move to the votes on recommendations 2.1 and 2.2 on pages 35. Thank you, members.
Do we have any questions, members? No. Thank you very much. Moved by Councillor Knight and seconded by Councillor Biederman. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Thank you, members.
Item 14 is the proposed committee timetable for 2026-27.
Thank you, Chair. So this report sets out the basic principles for scheduling standing council and committee meetings and recommends a proposed timetable for 26-27 as detailed in Appendix A of the report. The principles for scheduling meetings are set out in paragraph 4.1 of the report. These principles are similar to the current year, with the exception of Scheduling Strategy and Resources Committee and Scrutiny and Policy Development Committee, and also avoiding scheduling meetings during August where possible. Following the LGA governance review in October of 2025, the council was advised that it would be beneficial for the committee process if the order of meetings of the Strategy and Resources Committee and Scrutiny and Policy Development Committee were changed. Therefore, it is proposed that meetings of the Scrutiny and Policy Development Committee are held prior to the meetings of the Strategy and Resources Committee. This will enable reports to be considered first by the Scrutiny and Policy Development Committee prior to consideration by the Strategy and Resources Committee. In preparing the committee timetable, we have consulted with committee chairs and vice chairs, and also consulted with Devon County Council and Exmoor National Park Authority scheduling meetings. Just a note to bring to your attention, member, there's a typographical error in Appendix A, and at the Harbour Board meeting on 11th of August 2026 has been included incorrectly and should be deleted. Therefore, it's recommended that the timetable council and committee meetings for 26-27 be adopted as detailed in Appendix A, Chair. Thank you.
Councillor Petrinos.
Thanks. Yeah, further to what Bev just said about the Harbour Board meeting in August being inserted incorrectly, it should actually be, I believe, as I communicated with Bev earlier, on the 8th of September. And the one accidentally included on the 1st of September also deleted. So I'm happy to move the recommendations subject to that amendment.
Yep, Councillor Caroline Lima.
Thank you, Chair. So I just need to get this. There are, because of Strategy and Resources has moved from the first Monday to the third Monday. There are the first two meetings of the next calendar year that I won't be able to attend because of prior engagements. So just wanted to let you know. So there may be a little bit of sorting things out because all of others, because of changes in schedules. But other than that, thank you for this. Thank you.
So were you seconding that, Councillor Lever? Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Lever. All those in favour? Against? Abstentions? No, Councillor Jones abstained. Thank you. That's passed. Thank you very much. So item 15 is appointments to the committees 2025-26. To consider the appointment of Councillor Rutty to replace Councillor Williams on the Scrutiny Policy and Development Committee for the 2025-26 municipal year. So any questions? Move that, proposed that statement by Councillor Clayton and seconded by Councillor Beedman. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Okay. Item 16, outside body appointment. This is for the North Devon Highways and Traffic Orders Committee to consider the appointment of Councillor Spear to replace Councillor Williams on the North Devon Highways and Traffic Orders Committee for the Life of Council, and that attendance at meetings be an approved duty. Councillor Knight proposed. So Councillor Knight proposed, Councillor Clayton seconded. All those in favour? Thank you. Against? Any abstentions? Thank you. Item 17 is to for the minutes of the committees. I would like to move these en bloc. Do I have a proposal, please? Councillor Beedman, seconder, Councillor Clayton. All those in favour? Thank you. Against? Any abstentions? Thank you. And the meeting, sorry, Councillor Lever.
Totally sorry, you got onto voting about that before I got. There's one small amendment on the minutes of Planning Committee on the 5th of November. I believe I gave my apologies as was noted in my diary, but it doesn't appear in the minutes. I wonder if my apologies could be noted, please.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you, Karen. Thanks, Lever. Okay, thank you very much, councillors.